Namaste, and welcome to day 5 of the 30-day Rise Challenge. Today I want to talk about the nervous system. There are two nervous systems that run in your body. It's the first one that you might be most familiar with is the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is your fight and flight response system, which helps you cue into the subtlety of energy of survival, safety, and protection. Okay. A lot of times we might kick into this system for things that actually don't require true safety, but we might feel in a sense of being unsafe, or mentally an experience might come in and we might have a mental psychology of fear. Okay. Our nervous system is filled with tons of nerves, pathways, blood vessels, and that's just on the physicality level, okay? You are not just only affected physically, you are also affected mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. In the modern world, it requires of us, or it demands our attention to constantly direct our focus and awareness to stay alert, scan for dangers, react quickly, and kind of keep moving. Uh, we often hear the phrase, stay productive. If you're not doing something, you're not being productive. Okay? That's just an appearance. And through the lens of observation of someone else that might be offering their perspective. Doesn't mean you have to accept it. Doesn't mean that it's true. It's just through their perspective that that is how they are perceiving the modeled behavior before them. Okay? But when a, but today's video is about bringing balance and healing into the bodies, the multi-bodied self, and trying to shift from consistently living in survival mode. Okay, healing only occurs when the nervous system is at rest, when we have a sensory feel of it's safe. Okay, the second nervous system that everyone has is called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is when you are at your normal, calm, rest state, uh, relaxed. But it goes beyond that, okay? Um, and I would really encourage you to stay through the whole video because there's going to be vital content besides the practical exercise to help build a foundation, not so much build a psychology or belief, but a foundation that you can cultivate experience with the practice of. And if you stay with it, you will be able to reset your nervous system pretty quickly. Um, but the core takeaway, a conscious nervous system, and when I'm saying conscious nervous system, you are attuning your attention to your nervous system and how it's what state of being it is responding in. Okay, this is designed to reset your mind, your body, the physicality of your body, the emotionality of your energetic body, the spiritual body, because sometimes we veer off course of our uniqueness and dawn identities for what we thought at the time was unsafe, or we didn't want the feelings of more rejection, or we were often misunderstood for our uniqueness, as well as the energy field that's around you, energetic body. Okay, back into coherence, balance, and well-being. But it's not just about relaxation, but rather a purposeful intention of functional recalibration of your internal wiring system. Okay? If you stay with me and you practice these steps, they will be very effective. All right? So, if you can, turn off your notifications, turn off or put your phone on Do Not Disturb just for the duration of this video. Okay? I'm going to teach you a grounded somatic breath work that will help you not only place your nervous system in a calm rest state, but help recalibrate it. Okay? As you breathe, let your breath come in through your nose fully, guiding it all the way down to your diaphragm. Okay? If you're unfamiliar with diaphragm, your gut, your lower abdominal, mid abdominal, upper abdominal. Okay? And let it stay there for about 2 to 3 seconds. As you allow it to stay there for 2 to 3 seconds, it's literally moving energy in your core. Okay? And before it goes there, it's got to go down your nervous system. That's right. Then it comes back up. As you exhale for about 5 to 6 seconds, expelling all in your exhaling breath. Okay? Repeat this for about 6 to 10 cycles, and you will be able to reset your nervous system. All right? So do it with me, and maybe you want to use your hands to help attune yourself to the uh, mechanics of breath work. All right. So you can mimic or you can just do the exercise. If you're familiar with breath work, by all means, um, do at your leisure. Breathe in through the nose, drawing all the way down. Hold for about 3 seconds, and then expel all. Right? Let's do it again. Let your belly fully extend. Okay? After a while, you'll start tuning into the movement of that energy moving around in your belly, okay? If you don't feel it right now, it's completely okay. Just go through the exercise and release for about 5 seconds. Okay? Do it, like I said, do it for about 6 to 10 cycles. If you start feeling a little bit of lightheadedness, dizziness, that's literally your body, your nervous system coming back online in recalibrated mode. Okay, um, be don't be quick to assign a narrative or judgment of something's wrong with your body. Okay, just allow the process to unfold in itself without judging it. Okay, you can also direct the flow of your breath work Besides your nervous system, you can guide your breath upward. So as I breathe in, I can guide it up to my head and release. I can guide it to any point in my body that might be out of alignment, out of balance, or maybe experiencing a physiological discomfort. You can, as you direct your attention to that location and you're doing your breath work, you are literally sending the energy to that location of your breath work. Okay. What are the benefits of a nervous system reset? Each benefit ties directly into your natural self. Okay. The you that's beneath all of the layers, all the identities that you have allowed yourself to don, all of the narratives that you have absorbed, all the beliefs of limitations that you've allowed yourself to accumulate. Okay. It improves emotional regulation, meaning that maybe at some point it was so much that you just allowed yourself to feel numb in life. Because someone might have said, be strong, don't cry, don't show your emotions, etc., etc. And what that does after a while, and you build that framework, it actually blocks your emotionality of understanding the vibrational mechanics of connecting with people, places, events, and kind of puts up a wall of resistance. Well, with this breath work, you can actually start crumbling some of those walls of resistance and transforming how experiences come into your life by elevating, that's right, by elevating your neutrality point to a higher vibrational level just with somatic breathing. And there's different forms of breath work. You can use box breathing, you can use opposite nostril breathing, etc., etc. Use what works in alignment for you or you feel a connection with. Okay. Understand that this is not about rigidity or structured, follow this, etc., etc., or you're not doing it right. There's no truth in that whatsoever. If you are breathing fully, not shallow breathing, but breathing fully and drawing it in and exhaling, you're doing it right. Okay? If you're looking for an immediate, instantaneous change, you may not experience it in the first, maybe the second or third time that you do this practice. Um, and I mean, first practice, 10 cycles. Second practice, 8 cycles to 10 cycles. Third practice, 6 to 10 cycles. Okay? What you are doing is you are retraining your internal self, your internal nervous network of cells uh, to behave in alignment with this breath. And after a while, doing that practice, it no longer becomes a learning practice of cultivating an experience. It becomes second nature and you start doing it automatically because you've repeated the process so many times. Okay. You end up being less reactive when engaged in an external factor, whether it's a heated conversation, whether it's you got passed up for a promotion at work, or maybe you're having difficulty with that neighbor next door that might be challenging your peace and comfort level. Okay. Instead of saying that person did something to me or that person triggered me, maybe go inward and ask what in this experience is teaching me about myself and what trigger do I have within me that I am able to let go of today. That takes your focus from casting blame of someone on someone else and redirects your focus and attention to how your unique self is responding to your external uh, circumstances. The more you compound this practice and this awareness, the more you get to choose how you respond. And it doesn't matter if someone agrees that you should respond in that way or they expect you to respond in a disruptive way. Your peace is your peace. No one else can bring you peace other than you allowing yourself to be at peace. You can also allow someone else's energy to disrupt that flow of peace. But ultimately, it's your choice. That's your free will. Okay? Enhanced mental clarity. You might have difficulty making decisions in a expected time format. Be gentle with yourself and allow the work to do itself. Okay? And your environment will start reflecting the recalibration of your nervous system. Okay? Um, that doesn't mean that you won't have challenges, and that doesn't mean that you won't experience circumstances or people to come in to challenge you in remaining vigilant, in being at rest or being at peace. Okay? Physical tension in the body. You can release physical tension in the body by using somatic breathing um, and resetting your nervous system. Muscles stop contracting, uh, inflammation become starts decreasing, virals that might be in your body starts getting expelled, and however your intelligent body is going to expel them, whether it's through your nose, through your mouth, uh, through sweat glands, through um, release of any other methodology that your body releases, okay? Um, it will start releasing that energy, okay? Sometimes it's going to be in a physical form, sometimes it's not going to be in a physical form, or where you are able to readily pick up with your primary senses, okay? Energy field stabilization. In your energy field, there is everything. Everything about you. All the elevated vibration, all the lower vibration, all the elevated statements of belief, all the lower vibrational statements of belief is always around you. And when you are in the frequency and vibrating in alignment to that like energy, that's when that flows in and you experience it in a tangible way, even though you may not have expected it to occur or have taken accountability for how you might have participated in allowing that energy to flow into you. Okay? You are only responsible for your energy, not someone else's. You are not here to change someone else's energy. In this context, you are here to serve your greater self in recalibrating your nervous system. You may end up feeling a more smoother transition of energy flow throughout your body, uh, feeling new circulation movement, breaking up stored and stagnant energy, blockages that might be being held in place that requires you to do part of the work and direct the energy to those things. Okay, heart mind coherence. You may have heard this in the wellness community, coaching community. When your mind is out of alignment with your heart, you end up not synchronizing with the things that you do want to experience in life. You end up experiencing things out of balance. Doesn't mean that you're not drawing it into you. It just means that I can learn from this experience and realize something within me is out of balance. and now I go inward and do inner work. Okay? Greater resilience. You tend to rise faster after stress triggers have been activated. Okay? You tend to, instead of changing an outside circumstance or uh, solving external problem in the let me fix this mentality, to let me go inside and do some internal work and reset myself so that I can reapproach this in a clear level mindedness rather than a clouded judgment. Okay? When we are out of balance with our nervous system, we don't think clearly. We don't even tap into rationality or reasoning. We tap into reactionary and comparison of historical events to what's happening presently right now, and we're casting it into potentiality of future events to flow in. We can disrupt that pattern by using somatic breathing. I want to go into some of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic imbalances that you may experience with an out of alignment nervous system. Okay? You may experience chronic tension in a physical manner. Muscles may not relax, they may stay contracted from prolonged stress and limiting oxygenated blood flow to your muscles, your tissues, your ligaments, your um, blood vessels. When we close ourselves or constrict ourselves, we don't allow the fullness of flow of energy throughout our body. But when we expand and open ourselves up, energy flows more freely, dissolving energetic blocks. And I say energetic blocks, but it's not non-material energy. It also serves material energy to help break up and loosen and push out of your system. You may experience sleep disruption, where maybe you have worked a certain familiarity of practice as, in my experience, a security officer or in the military, where your last shift was an overnight shift, and you worked that for like 6 months to sometimes 12 months, okay? And that became your anchored identity of how sleep works for you because you had to train your body to respond that way. Why? Because if you didn't perform in that certain capacity, you may have had some alternative or recursive action to reinforce that particular manner of performance. Okay. Well, then when you get out of the service, like I did, you may have issues trying to sleep at a normal, and I say normal, but at a time that everyone else in your family may be sleeping at a regular time. Okay. A little bit of somatic breathing goes a long way, and it serves multifunctionally throughout your whole energetic body self. Okay. Digestive irregularity. You may have issues or complications in the gut, uh, vital organs, uh, soreness in the back. Bringing in that breath, doing that cycle will help alleviate and help readdress, and so that the intelligence of your body can serve you greater. Okay. I mentioned this earlier, but you may have experience of physical inflammation in the body. Sometimes people will call it swelling. Uh, you may have viral infection that has metastasized to a certain degree that it can be detected with physical instruments. But before it was detected with physical instruments, it may not have had a physical appearance, even though it was present in you. That just meant more energy came in, feeding that seed, allowing it to metastasize into a physiological outcome that is detectable in a physical manner. Okay. With somatic breathing, you can reset the physical imbalances in your body. Okay. Maybe you experience some mental imbalances. Maybe you have been classified as someone that has PTSD. Understand PTSD is not an identity of who you are. It's a symptom of what you experienced and haven't been able to process fully and release. Okay? A lot of times we throw uh, prescribed medicinal properties to try to mitigate the symptoms, but it doesn't address the root cause. With somatic breathing, you can address the root cause of its existence. You may re-experience some of it, but with this awareness, you can now approach it with confidence, clarity, and awareness. Okay, this is coming back up. I remember going through this. Now it's time that I'm going to allow it to be released and no longer allow it to hold me back from living my greatest life, if you want to call it that, okay? I do apologize for the graininess of the video. I'm using a more older model laptop recording this video. Um, Maybe you have an overthinking mind and you overthink with loops. As you imagine or you think about things, you generate energy for it to exist in your external environment. Okay. And I'm not going to teach you all about that stuff. I have videos on YouTube, and you can also do your own due diligence to do your research and dive deeper. Understand the research that is out there. Take it with a grain of salt as some truth, not all the truth. Okay? You will not experience the fullness of the truth until you allow yourself to apply it in your personal life and actually cultivate the experience of it and teach from experience of what you have cultivated through. Okay? The mind stays in survival mode, constantly scanning for threats, uh, risk analysis, um, dangers. Okay? If you were in the military or you were in uh, a environment that trained you to become aware of these things, but you no longer need to utilize these things because you're no longer in that environment, it might be time to bring in some breath work and reset that. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're going to turn off the ability to detect real dangers, but it's also going to help where you don't actually perceive something as dangerous as it might appear to be. Okay, look, many people have difficulty in this area. It's be gentle with yourself, allow the gradual unfolding. Like I said, this is not an immediate cure or fix or disruption of any identified diseases. And I say dis-ease is because you are not at ease or at rest, but rather a state of beingness that can be addressed. Okay. Neural pathways prioritize threat detection over creativity. Okay. Creative People might say that this person has a creative mind or this person has an analytical mind. This person has a free-flowing mind. This person is all about quantifiable facts and truths that can be measured in a tangible way. Understand those are factors of limitations, where you only allow yourself to exist in a limited capacity to perceive it as such. Doing so can create a barrier of resistance to the fullness of your expansion and growth and elevation and vibration. Okay. And you end up drawing in more experiences that compound those as living truths. Okay. Maybe you have decision paralysis where you're not able to make a decision on the spot when a challenge shows up in your life. Okay. Challenges can be small, minute, and they can be large and grand. Just as blessings can be small and minute and large and grand. They don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they show up under subconscious awareness or unconscious awareness, and you haven't picked it up in a conscious, aware state. Uh, that uncertainty triggers the freeze response, where you do nothing. You're you look catatonic. You look like you're not speaking, not responding to maybe inquiries or conversation or communication. You are communicating, but you're communicating in a different manner than what someone might expect of you in that moment. Okay. And that can happen. For the longest time, I was taught to not speak unless someone asked me a question. And the question had to be specific, not elaborated or detailed. Okay. And then you might experience someone in your life where they want more detail. And so you start putting detail on everything, and they tell you, oh, I don't need all the details. And now you have a conundrum of, well, what part do I share all the details of, and what part do I not share all the details of? And it becomes a conflict and confusing for you to show up, basically. Bring in some somatic breathing before you start judging the outside external factors, okay? Before you assign blame or suggest someone's behaving a certain way. Um, maybe a negative biasness. Perception filters toward fear or scarcity. Maybe you don't experience life in a lens of perception as abundant, but in a limited capacity or a scarcity mindset, where you only see abundance if it's meets a certain criteria that comes into your life. You are already abundant. You cast into your field of experience all of your abundance. That doesn't mean that abundance is one category. You may have an abundance of energy flowing in that might not be in a favorable way of how you perceive it. Okay. Um, air, as you do your breath work, air is abundant and freely supplied. You don't have to go to a doctor to get it. You don't have to go to the store to buy it. You don't have to ask your neighbor for it. You just get to utilize it. And I'm sure if this commercial world could quantify it into some manner, they can charge a fee for it when it's freely abundant. Okay? We just haven't put enough attention and awareness into realizing that abundance that is available. Or we put it in a limited scope where we're not abundant because we're not getting an abundance of financial support, or we're not abundant because we're not getting an abundance of meaningful relationships and aligned uh, synchronicities. You are manifesting everything in your life that flows into your life. If you did not manifest it in some capacity, it would not flow into your life for you to experience it in an emotional, physical, mental, and energetic way. Okay? Something within you has the seed or the growth of in order for it to flow in. Okay? Let's talk about emotional imbalance. All right? Maybe your mood volatility is not always neutral. Maybe at one point you are high, and then 2 to 3 seconds later it drops low, and you are expressing uh, mood irregularity, and you might have been classified as bipolar or um, some other classification of identity that says you're broken, something's wrong with you, um, or you're you're riddled with anxiety, etc., etc. Going to therapy, you may experience some of these classifications. Okay, understand that that is not who you are. It's how they communicate of what they perceive through their lens of observation of your responses to their inquiries, and they measure it next to the metrics of this big book that says all of the things that a person could possibly have, and they scrutinize it so closely to this, that, this, that the next step is to provide you with a prescription to help mitigate those symptoms. Again, mitigating symptoms only helps for a small duration. It does not solve the root problem that exists within you. And a lot of the pharmaceutical medication out there prescribed for emotional imbalance or physical imbalance, even um, mental imbalances, are synthetic in nature or chemically created, and you are ingesting those into a natural environment that isn't supposed to have syntheticness in it. You can eat yourself healthy through the value of food, through the value and quality of food that you select, because in nature, it already provides you the medicine that you might require for your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, but it might require you to equip the knowledge to understand it, apply it, practice it, and observe the response your body is providing. Okay? So you might experience emotional swings rapidly between highs and lows as mood imbalance, or some might call it hormonal imbalance, whichever you want to utilize. Hormonal is more on a physicality level, where uh, emotional connectivity is on a mood level of resonance and vibration. Okay, maybe you were taught to suppress your feelings. Maybe you experienced something and you were expressing your feelings in the moment, and someone didn't like how you responded to what they provided in the moment, and so they said stop crying, or they said men don't cry, or something along the lines to suppress the naturality of your emotions to the experience, and you closed yourself off through repetition and dawned behavior of I don't show emotions, I don't express, or a victim mindset of that. Remember, mind and heart coherence. As you think, you also feel. Okay? The body stores unexpressed emotions that didn't get the opportunity to fully express themselves and be released. All right? Um, Sometimes in a manner of control over you, sometimes because someone didn't want to see the accountability of the energy they supplied in the moment. Okay? Uh, Empathic overload. I know some who are high on the emotional quotient and they can sense and feel, but they have no words to express why they are responding that way, other than their body is responding for them in the situation, and empathically an outcome occurs. And maybe they show physical signs of crying, but they don't know why they're crying, or um, argumentative, but they're not trying to argue. They're trying to bring clarity into what's happening in the energy in that space. But we as adults, we tend to shun when someone else might be trying to teach us something about ourselves. Um, we often tend to close off the ability or close off the idea that someone younger than us, someone less experienced, couldn't potentially have the ability to teach us things about ourselves. When you approach things with an open mind and almost like a childlike curiosity, you tend to expand your energy field and you tend to see things through a greater lens of observation without judgment. When you narrow that field, you tend to see it in a limited emotional capacity where you're only permitting a little bit of it rather than allowing the fullness of it to express itself. Okay? So they may end up absorbing, not only do they feel, they may end up absorbing like a sponge emotions of other people's emotions without grounding. So you might be cool at home and you might have a loving, nurturing home environment, but you go to school and someone else comes from a different environment and they're expressing themselves however they express themselves. And now, as you observe, you are literally absorbing the energetic information in that space and welcoming it into yourself. Wherever you direct your attention, energy flows to it, but it also comes back in. Okay. Uh, so you may not have been the contributor in the space of that energy, but you might be the absorber of that energy in that space. And now you have to do something with that emotion of energy that wasn't your own when you employ somatic breathing practices and you reset the nervous system and re-regulate yourself into a balance, elevated balance state. You naturally push out the energy that wasn't yours to hold on to. Okay. Maybe you have a loss of joy or an ideology of a loss of joy of emotion. A lot of people are like, okay, well, if you want joy, you have to be the joy and share the joy in order for more joy to flow in. Now, that is incorrect in the certain aspect, but what if you don't know what joy feels like if your environment wasn't a joyful environment, you know? Instead, you got compounded with what didn't feel like joy. And so the first time that joy came in, it became new, unfamiliar. And you're like, ooh, I want more of this, but I don't know how to get more of this, right? Joy is already in you, it just might be suppressed, all right? The nervous system forgets how to feel safe and accept pleasure. Now, pleasure can be physical, pleasure can be emotional, pleasure can be mental, it can be energetical. Pleasure can be in passion, passion what you do, in creativity flow, in how you show up representing yourself, how you put your energy into the space of wherever you're at. Pleasure isn't always defined as a sensuality aspect. Some may suggest that you should feel shame or guilt or um, or to suppress that feeling because they've been conditioned to see it as in a societal way that it's a negative thing, or it's a shameful thing, or it's a guilt-ridden thing. So you close off pleasure completely and you lose the awareness of pleasure in small things, right? Um, but if you implore the somatic breathing technique and practice in this, you will, after a while, you will send reset to that emotional compass that you hold and re-regulate it, and you may resurface some unexpressed emotions. That's just the intelligence of your energetic body self giving you awareness. Hey, we received your energy, we received your breath work. We're going to work and letting you know this is what we were working on. Cool. Let it come through your awareness. Assign no more judgment or criteria about the value of it and let it run its course. And after it's run its course, your body's going to release. It's when we put attachments on things or hold on to things that it doesn't release readily. And it might require a couple more days of you utilizing that same technique. I also practice Reiki, and you may feel rest and relaxation in the first session, but you might require more sessions to really address the root cause, because Reiki always goes to the root cause. It doesn't um, serve surface level. It goes to the root cause and then travels the whole route of whatever it is that's within you that's creating the complication in a physical manner before it comes up to the physical resolution. Okay? Uh, you could do the same thing with food. Food can help restore your nervous system. Um, Balance it with elements. Maybe you have warming spices, add some cooling elements. Uh, Maybe you have an abundance of fire and low on the water, or an abundance of earth and low on the metal or air. As you become more attuned and aware to how you consciously create your foods and how they support you in an elemental way, in a mental way, emotional way, physical way, energetical way, you become more aware and equipped with personal experience that you can then teach from authentically because you've experienced it in a authentic manner rather than going to school, being taught something and passing on that taughtness to someone else, etc., etc. And it becomes a cycle of teach or learn, absorb, teach, and then the next teachers do the same thing. I don't teach you to regurgitate what I teach. I teach you to do the work and come up with your own experience in the field of practice of it and write down in a journal your observations without judgment, without criticalness, without rationalizing it, without reasoning it away. Okay? When you do that, you become more attuned to the awareness within you, and your attention is more focused on the inner aspect of you than everything that vies for your attention externally. Okay? You still you you're a participator in the external environment, so you're still going to be connecting and interacting in your external environment. But in those spaces, you carry the vibrational change in your nature into that space. And without even recognition of it, sometimes below conscious awareness, the change in the atmosphere or the atmosphere ended up changing the moment that you started stepping into it. You didn't know how it was before, but when you stepped in, you brought your energetic elevation into that space. And people might not be able to put words to it, but they're like, when you show up, it's like something changes in the field or changes in the space. Conversations become more grounded and open rather than competitive. Uh, the idea of growth and collaboration rather than do this because this is the right way of doing it, et cetera, and rigidity and structure, to where now it's an open format where everyone has a voice to speak and everyone has the opportunity to express themselves in it. You have an idea about something, or someone that says, "Hey, anybody have an idea of how we can approach this?" Don't reject your thoughts of the idea as unimportant, because as you offer your perspective in that opportunity, a clear level perspective, not a clouded perspective, a clear level perspective in that opportunity, you allow other people to shift into an awareness of, oh, I can see it now in a different light. That's how we also stop judging other people. That's how we start becoming, that's how we start emitting kind energy, loving energy, respectful energy. But if we're constantly trying to get something to come out to an outcome or expectation and it doesn't measure up to that expectation, or something comes in and disrupts that complete process of steps, how do you respond? If the manner in which you respond as it's someone else's fault just because they might have done something to try to compensate, how much do you know that that person didn't do the research to give the equal balance when you might have ran out of something? Okay, when you approach things with that awareness, you become more aware of the intention people provide in that space. Okay, it may take some work. It may take diligent practice. Many of the things I teach is a gradual process because it took you many years to be where you are right now, cultivating the same thought manners, the same belief structures, the same way of approaching life through the ideology of what was adopted, and maybe in your familial surroundings, maybe in your social surroundings, or maybe in a cultural surrounding what was considered acceptable and not acceptable. Okay. How about spiritual imbalance? Did you know that with your nervous system always in fight and flight or never or not allowed to rest, that you can actually become out of alignment with a spiritual balance of awareness of all that you are at your core essence? I can't tell you what you will experience because I'm not in your body, nor have I walked the path step by step in your shoes or made the decisions that you made the decisions of and the choices that you made that led you up to the point where you are before me right now. But I can say that from this point forward, doing the somatic breath work in this video will help you elevate and become more aware and rebalance your nervous system. Maybe you have a disconnection, like maybe you've questioned, what is my purpose? Why am I in life when all these things seem to be happening and it doesn't seem to be producing a favorable outcome in my perspective of what I find favorable or unfavorable? Maybe you feel like you're out of touch with clarity or a loss of intuition of clarity and discernment of the energy in the space. Energy is not always just physical, okay? The higher self signals are often drowned out by distortion, sometimes noise, but other times it's like distortion of energy. Um, may appear like you have no connection. You are never disconnected from your spiritual self. You've always been connected to your spiritual self. You could not exist in a body without having a spiritual self. Plain and simple. There's the truth. You couldn't exist in your body without having a uh, tethering of mind body, emotional body, spiritual body, soul body, and the energy field. Your energy field could not exist without you having a body. All you would be is just existence, not in tangible form. But you said, before you incarnated, you said, I want to experience life so I can experience all these things. In order to experience all these things, you had to have a formation of a physical nature, an emotional nature, a mental nature with your spiritual and soul nature. Okay? The soul's coherence weakens under chronic stress, under whether it's excessive working out, whether it's excessive arguing in the home, uh, contention, or suppression. Or maybe you have a resistance of surrender. I don't mean surrendering your life to something else or someone else, but rather a resistance of letting go of what has already occurred instead of bringing it back into the present moment and saying, you always do this. If someone always did something, truthfully, if someone always did something, it would be continuous every single second of the day, of every day they exist. Knowing your words and how they affect your environment and the psychology of which you allow yourself to have will dictate that you identify it as an always thing. Do you always sleep? No. You sleep certain points of the day or night, depending on what your lifestyle is like, but you don't always sleep. You sleep sometimes. Do you understand the difference there? The clarity of that? You don't eat all the time. You don't eat always. You eat at specified times, sometimes behaviorally or out of pattern. But if you ate all the time or always, you would be eating every second of the day and as you sleep. That's why that word does not count, does not qualify to be truth. And you may find it in home, you may find it in social circles, you may find it in the school, you may find here and there. Being accountable for how you speak your words should not be up to someone else to redirect your attention to how you are using your words. Nor is it an implication that they are going to manipulate or try to control you how to use your words, but rather a self awareness of what this word means, truly, at its core essence. Are you always bad? Probably not. Are you always good in whatever fundamental way that you just determine good as? Probably not. In fact, always probably shouldn't even exist as a word. But that's me putting a biased statement on it because I have a deeper understanding of words and the power of vibration embedded in words. Every word you speak has the flow of your internal energy and vibration. It speaks the truth before you are aware of it. And whatever that truth is, that's how you have people that in professions that are detectives. They detect based on how your response of words are. They detect based on how your body is responding to their inquiries. And something within them has been so fine tuned to the awareness of when something, some call it gut instinct, when something is saying, hey, I'm going down the right path, or this is not the right person. And there's others that pretend to be detectives and they end up putting people away that actually didn't do the crime, but yet it doesn't come out till many years later when either someone finally lets go and says, yeah, I was the one who did that, but now that person had served that time. And how do you apologize for robbing someone of that time? You don't. You can't give that person more time. So I say this in clarity, in truth, and open honesty. Before responding in a conversation that might jar you, practice the breath work. Practice somatic breathing as described in this video, and then reapproach it, not in a rushed manner. Reapproach it with clarity and honest, true conviction. Not convicting yourself as the victim or the perpetrator in the situation, but conviction as in the form of true, authentic self. You see, I can't pour out everything that I have equipped myself with knowledge of, and then applied that knowledge into physical format, into cultivated experience. That cultivated experience, after a while, becomes wisdom. That wisdom then becomes imparted as teaching opportunities to other people. And there could be something that's not even a planned occurrence that a teaching opportunity comes out. Not that you planned for it, but something in the moment revealed that and led to the outcome of it to offer insight. So if you are experiencing some energetic blocks, it may be because your nervous system is out of balance and may require you to do some of your own work and something that is completely free and abundant. Breath work. Breathing in and releasing. Today was day 5 of a 30-day rise challenge. If you stayed to the end, you have gotten more than the person that might stay for 3 minutes or 30 seconds. And those persons weren't meant for me to be able to share this information for. If you are serious about rising into the greatest version of your unique self, the full context and content throughout the video of each video uploaded is for your highest good. I have already embedded that intention in every video. I don't edit it. I don't rewrite it. I don't proofread it. Everything flows. Consciously, it flows. I might have a couple of key points where it puts me on direct focus of a specific thing, but I could stand before you in front of a whiteboard and write the same things on a whiteboard from personal experience. not from someone else's experience or someone else's literature. If I read a book, I read the book, I absorb the knowledge and information of it, and then I apply and practice the information. And then I give the honest feedback of observation of, in my experience, this is what I have experienced. And it's not closed, it's not, you have to do it this way in order to experience, et cetera, because you may not experience it the same way I do. And that's the beauty of celebrating uniqueness. You don't have to be me. You don't have to think like me. You don't have to speak like me. You don't have to act or embody the identity as me. Because I'm not looking to create many more of me. I'm looking to help you turn your awareness to inside out and help you rise in health and well-being. Today, it was the nervous system. Tomorrow, it's going to be something else. Or whenever I upload another video, I said 30 days, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly every single day. I'm recording a video and uploading every day in the 30 days, because life does happen and things will come in. So I don't say that as a promissory statement that one will be uploaded every single day. But the promissory statement is that I am going to provide you a video in alignment to a topic, the day of, out of the 30 days. And when it's completed with the 30 days, it doesn't mean that I'm done. It doesn't mean that you're done. It just means another chapter is going to be opening up and shift to something else. At the same time, I am teaching people about the medicine of food, natural food, not modified grown food or lab food or synthetic food. I'm also teaching people how to approach things with a mindfulness attitude rather than a closed mind or a narrowed focus, narrowed vision focus. Okay. If you're interested in working with me, connect. But these videos are free, and you're only going to stay as long as you choose to. And that's your choice. uh, but you can connect with me on Facebook, you can connect with me on YouTube, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a link tree out there that has pretty much every link that you can find me of. You can pick up, I'm also a published author that you can pick up one of my many books that I have written that helps you in your personal journey to awaken to your unique self and become aware of your own energy and how you supply the quality of that energy in your field or as you direct it towards other people too. But know that when you come up on someone and they choose they don't want that energy, that's their choice. What they do is they end up reflecting it back to you. I said, nope, I'm not taking this. I'm not absorbing this. I'm hearing I'm hearing the information and I'm seeing what state of being that you are in, but I'm not absorbing the belief of this energy because it does me no good. Puts me out of balance. And I choose not. Again, this is Dave Drew, and you have reached the end of day 5 of the 30-day Rise Challenge for you to rise to your highest, greatest, unique self. Shedding the layers, addressing internal components, addressing the external components, and everything that makes you all that you are today. Have a great day. Namaste. Be well.